Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Good to see y'all tonight. All right, Ernie was number one in here tonight, and he's on the panel, you guys. Hey, Karen, number two, girlfriend, number two. Amazing Grace, number three. I love that. Amazing Grace, beautiful girl, beautiful. And number four, YouTube girly. All right, hello, hello, hello to all of you. I got Ernie up here. He has something to say, so I'm going to give him the floor.
I do appreciate each and every one of you for the messages. I literally have been overwhelmed with what's going on with our investigation and with the project that we're doing. I didn't know that it was so much that was going to happen and it was going to turn out about this. But I've always said, what does it hurt? Let's mark it off the list. If it's not true, if the things are not there, um, at least we can say, hey, we marked it off the list. But now we see by accident that these private investigators, Don and Candus, have literally given they showed their card to people and they didn't even know it. But that's the way the Lord works. God puts people in people's reason, in his life for a reason, okay? So we have to understand that by doing that, people slip up, people make mistakes. And not only did we have the mistake of Trudy mentioning me and Hawkins County, but that showed me everything that I've been doing in Hawkins County has not been in vain. That things that people are listening, especially law enforcement. And I know they've tried everything in the world the last time to get me out of it, to pull me out of it. And I'm just thankful that the new sheriff family supports what we're doing. I can't wait until everything comes of light. And I'm not going to say too much more about it because I believe if we give our game plan away right now, we lose the part of the element of surprise. There was something that was mentioned to me. If you watch when the Hatfield and McCoys, when they meet Candus and Don, Candus is sitting there and her legs are shaking because I believe she thought that those were undercover agents maybe coming to arrest her. We don't know. We don't know. And that's just something that kind of got me a little bit, but it's obviously shaken a lot of people. The whole hell Beirut of YouTube has been shaken up. And, to give this little girl a voice again, to be able to rattle those cages, to be able to stand in front of evil and not back down, that's what you have to be. You have to be that. And without saying anything, the people automatically say it for you. And I do appreciate each and every one of you. I am only one man, but together as a team, we are unstoppable because it is we the people. I do appreciate each and every one of you again for all the messages. I haven't got to read all of them, the messages, messenger, the emails, and I do hope and continue that you guys will send out those warming comments and messages. And let's just support the YouTubers out there that really want to see things done. I want to thank I also want to thank Dolly Vision. I want to thank Dolly Vision for what he's contributed and what he's doing and helping push and keep Summerwell's name alive. I think that also Question Pearls, he actually reported on it too as well. We do appreciate people like that. We do. And we need more of them. One person can't do this. It has to be everybody together because we're taking on something now over 5 years that's pretty much lost. So let's get together, everybody, and do what we need to do. Do I need money or help? No, I don't. I don't need the money. I need your help. I don't need your money. Go ahead. Thank you, Brian.
Hey, we appreciate you, Ernie. You know it. And you know, as you said, God puts people where He wants them to be, and He's put your feet right where they need to be right now for Summer Moon Utah Wells. And I'm going to tell you, we're thanking God for that. You listened when no one else did. You're doing what needs to be done for this little girl and for her sake. And I'm sure wherever she's at, she appreciates it. I truly believe she's in a city of gold right now, with the Lord Jesus Christ. But I'm going to tell you what, she still needs to be found on this earth. She still needs those evil people to have to face justice on her behalf in order to save other children, because if they made her a victim, they'll make other children a victim too. So we greatly appreciate everything you're doing in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Absolutely. And we're going to keep praying for you. And Ernie, it don't hurt. It don't hurt to take some compensation for what you're doing. You gotta buy that gas. You got to buy food. You gotta stay in hotels. And if people want to help you and willing to help you, I support that 150%. I always do. I mean, a lot of people. There's a lot of people in this YouTube world that ain't here for no other reason than that money, and they're really not doing nothing. But you know what? I think when somebody's doing something like you're doing, yes, it should be funded. Absolutely. And I'm sure that all of Summer supporters would, have no problem helping you out to, be able to do exactly what needs to be done, and the length of time that, we don't want you to be rushed. We don't want you to be hurried. We want you to be able to, stay in the hotel as long as you need to do what needs to be done, to be able to eat well while you're there, take care of your health, and definitely have enough gas, getting across all these states, for you to be there and do what you're going to be doing. So with that being said, absolutely. I hope people do support you. I really do. God bless you.
I do appreciate that. And, if people want to help and support, it will not be on my lives when it's talking about missing children, but if people want to donate to my show, they're more than welcome to donate to my show. The information's on the shows, but of course, when I'm doing the missing children things, unless I'm boots on the ground, if I'm boots on the ground, hey, more power to it. I appreciate you all, because we do have to eat, we do have to feed people, and we do have to have, gasoline and fuel. Now, I'm not asking for no money, but if you want to, you all know the information. It's on my channel. When it comes just missing children and I'm just talking, I'm not boots on the ground and doing anything, I don't expect anything. I don't. But right now, the biggest thing is, what does it hurt to check and get this off the list? It does not hurt anything. It does not hurt the ground or the environment or anything that what we're doing. It does not.
And even the family of Timothy Morrison, they said even they would like a peace of mind knowing if Summer's under there, they want her found. They want her, exhumed out of there. It's really bothering that family as much as it's bothering all of us, because, they're sitting there wondering, is their 5-year-old little child down there underneath their loved one being hidden away, and, a perfect crime being executed, through them. They don't want to have to live with that kind of stuff. And they they want a peace of mind as well.
I didn't think that it would be a big problem to do it. And it's like, why is everybody coming against everybody just to know? See, when an investigation, people, listen, I'm going to say this. The Summer Wells case right now, with the investigation with Hawkins County, the prior Hawkins County, I'm not going to say about the new sheriff, but the prior Hawkins County, they didn't really do a checklist. There was really not a checklist going around like what something should have been. You eliminate places. I know they did their little searches, but go ahead.
Why these people are attacking you, Ernie? You want me to clarify it for you? I'll clarify it for you because they don't want Summer found. Because I'm gonna I'm gonna be upfront and I'm gonna be perfectly honest here because I always am, and that's why I'm greatly hated. But that's okay too because I don't give a shit. Um, the reason these people that are coming, coming at you on sideways and everything, and coming at me, don't want, don't want Summer found. I tell you right now why because it keeps a flow going into their bank accounts and all the cases that they've been on, every case that they've been on. I mean, they went chasing Sebastian Rogers. They went chasing um, Elijah Vu. They went chasing Emmanuel. They went chasing all of these other cases, and these other cases, um, just dropped off. And they always have Summer to come back to because we keep Summer alive. We keep her case moving forward. We keep it alive, and it's always here for them to fall back on after they go chase the new, like Nancy Guthrie. After they go chasing these cases that end up in the swamps, they come back to Summer. Summer's always there, and they want her to stay there. That's why they're giving everybody hell because it's their meal ticket, and I'm tired of the shit. Summer needs to be found. If she isn't found by the first of the year, I'm gone anyway. And Summer's case is going to fall off no matter what because they're not keeping it alive. They're so busy chasing everything that's new, and nobody's keeping none of these kids' cases alive except Summers, and that's us. And they're not going to have nothing to come back to then. Summer's case will be like, just like Michael Vaughn's. It'll be just like, Sebastian Rogers. It'll be just like all the other ones that they chased and nobody's paying attention to anymore.
See, here's what people have to understand. When, there's an investigation, when something's said between suspects and the police document it down, and then they go in other lives and other people have to understand YouTube, along with like Facebook or anything, can be used in the court of law. And when you let someone ask you these type of questions, this ain't just for a one-time thing. Don slipping up multiple times. The new sheriff could come in and say, hey, look, I need to know why you did this, why you said that. What was you meaning by this? And then re-question him again. But I'm going to say something. If you look at the detailed data about the placements of where Don was at, according to when all this happened, he's got an airtight alibi. But if you move the placement around and say, hey, what if this happened a little bit before their timeline? Then Don knew to go so-and-so while all this was at. He already knew what to do, going places and having different vehicles for the GPS, all that. Then also that, hey, this right here is not only just maybe a kidnapping or a missing child, but if it does come out to be that this child no longer exists, it also brings out the point of premeditation. It's premeditated. Then the case goes into another deeper, pretty much darkness of it, because also the new sheriff coming in, and I do believe this is what's going to happen. I honestly believe this is going to happen. I do believe in my heart when the new sheriff gets in, like they say, there's a new sheriff in town. I believe there's going to be at least some interrogation, some arrest, maybe some, maybe just some detainment or something. Maybe a detainment of 72 hours just to get things done and going with this. I honestly still believe law enforcement. I still believe in them, but the prior Hawkins County law enforcement that was involved in it has literally just kind of hurt the case in a way. It's like they didn't really, and I hate to say it, but they failed Summer Wells. And you're right, Stephanie. I'm just saying right now, the alibi he's got and the things he said, it's actually whether we like it or not, people are, law enforcement are taking it as it is. Now, they could be just saying, oh, well, hey, this is going on right now. Maybe we're going to make him make a mistake. And maybe the Hatfields and the McCoys maybe have just made him make that mistake. I mean, you are talking about someone who was a police officer for over 40 years. So he knew and I'm going to say this, he knew the questions to ask. I don't care what anybody says, and I jumped the gun, and I'm going to be the first one to say this. I jumped the gun on that man, and I shouldn't have, because the questions that he asked and playing dumb was the perfect way to do that. He asked the perfect question. Where were you? What, and that who, what, when, where, how, that open-ended question, I'm going to tell you right now, when I first heard it, all I heard was Trudy. And I thought it was them saying, because of Ernie Shell in Hawkins County. But I also had to go back to my training and the way I was trained years and years ago. When certain people are tied in with people, they say certain things and it all comes out. It triggers them. It pulls them to a way that, hey, a name is here, boom, boom, boom. It's just like if I look at you and I say, they could have said any other YouTuber. I mean, there was White Boy Radio, there's Benny Keys, there's Ziggy, there's Fred, all these other YouTubers. But they stayed with me. And they did that years ago, too. They did the same thing years ago.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And, it's a shame that people don't want Little Summer found. It's a shame that, they're not willing to help more. They're not willing to be, on board with each one of these children across the board. That's what we're out here for, right, Ernie? I mean, we're out here to save the children. And if somebody's evil enough to do something horrible to a child like Summer, like Michael Vaughn, like any of these children, little Quentin Simon, any of these children, they're evil enough to do it again. And that's why we want justice. We don't want another child, missing. We don't want another child. We don't want another case to cover, right?
That's exactly right. And, right now, and I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of people don't like this person, but as an investigator, I look at everybody, or I'll just say this, as a former investigator, a former private eye, I look at everybody, I look at everything going, and I kind of, I come up with a thing called the dismissal, and I try to put everybody in a category at first as suspects, and then I try to eliminate them. But the fact of the matter is, I've never seen a real case like this that everybody that revolves around in this, that they don't play a part some way. I can't eliminate. It's hard to say, I want to eliminate all this here, but it's like what Chris McDonough said, and I'm not really trying to, give him big props on it, but he was right. It all circles around Ben Hill, and it's kind of like it never left around that area. And if you go for what we do in a 10-mile radius, remember when I was telling you about the 10-mile radius, way before the FBI, I said, I think something's going to happen. And I said 10 miles. And if you look where Van Hill is from the Ben Hill part there, it was 9.7 miles. And I said around 10 or 12 miles is exactly what I said. I said it will happen around 10 or 12 miles. Something will happen. And I gave a date when it happens. And it happened. It was actually a month. It was 2.5 weeks after the date that I gave that it happened. And I was there. I was there in Van Hill. And I'm telling you, it was just like, oh my God. Remember I was talking to you and I said, I'm only a mile from there where that's at.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember.
So, I do believe that, I just hope and pray that everybody comes together on this, because it don't hurt nothing. It does not hurt anything at all to at least check it and crossed it off the list. That's it.
That's it. Absolutely. And, Summer deserves that. She deserves, you know, for you to check it. She deserves, um, for someone to finally listen. She deserves, 5 years down the road. It's sad that it had to get 5 years down the road. But, finally, she's got someone that's willing to go down there, willing to do what needs to be done to find out if she's in there or not and get her out if she is and do what's righteous, in the sight of God by this child. And you got picked. I truly believe that God handpicked you. He handpicked you to get this done. And I'm so grateful. I'm thankful. I'm excited. I am absolutely excited that, we're going to finally find out if this little girl's in there or she isn't. But I think she is. And the reason I think she is because Don and Candus went back shit fucking crazy on you last night. Would you like to hear it?
Oh yeah, I would love to hear it. Yeah, is this new? Is this something I've not heard before?
And that's what they were saying to those people. I mean,
Oh wow.
you were up first and upmost with this, with everything going on there. Watch and see.
Yes, right now what Ernie Shell is doing is costing Hawkins County bukus of money where he's just running his mouth.
See, we're not familiar with Ernie. Who's that, sheriff?
He's another.
And you see there, Ernie, and Candus is behind us. Candus and Don Wells is behind all of this. Those are their PIs, and those PIs are only doing what Don and Candus want them to do because they want to keep, close to this case because they're reporting everything to law enforcement, right? They're for Summer. They're not for the Wells. They're really for Summer. And to be honest with you, they want to solve this case as much as anybody else. I mean, they would love to get that reward fund themselves. No doubt in my mind, they can say they're doing everything for free, but at the end of the day, nobody really does anything for free. And let me tell you, there's something you don't get into something like this unless there's, a motive behind it. You have to either really, really super want this child found, or you're seeking, these are private eyes, right? They're seeking to capitalize off of it with the reward fund. At some point, they're hoping to figure it out themselves. And they don't want somebody like Ernie Shell riding in and finding the kid and solving everything and getting all the glory that they've worked 5 years talking to these, two fucking idiots, right? And putting up with all their damn shit and it will end up being for nothing, right? It'll be ended up for nothing. They've been hoping for that slip of the lip from Don and Candus to solve it themselves, but they're not going to get that because like Ernie said, Don and Candus are, hardcore criminals. These are streetwise, been doing it for a long time. They have a lot of fuckery in them and they know what they're doing, completely what they're doing. And they're not going to, why would they do this if they're going to slip up and tell it? You know what I'm saying? They're too smart for that. They're too smart for that. They're thinking before they talk. And Ernie knows exactly what kind of people he's messing with. He's messed with these type of people all his damn life. When you come from Kentucky, you mess with these people all your life, right, Ernie? Yeah,
well, yeah, and you see things, and here's what people are forgetting: being a country boy, being in the community, there is people that want it solved. There's people that care in the community in Hawkins County. They care for Summer Wells. They really do. Like I have people messaging me, talking to me all the time, and they're like, "Look, these people will give out information that they would never ever give out to law enforcement because they're afraid to come forward. They're afraid. But to a total stranger or to somebody that they know that wants to get this thing done, they will give information. They will talk. They will talk. They will sing. They will be your best friend. They will invite you in their home. They'll give you sweet tea. I mean, they'll sit there and talk to you. They'll let you know everything. They'll let you know the character of Don and Candus and Jody Sue and all these people, who they are, what they're about. They'll tell you the locations, the places they go, where they've seen them at, who they hang with, who they're dealing with this person and that person. But see, they don't tell law enforcement that.
No,
They don't
absolutely.
do that.
No. That and that's the truth, because they don't want, these are the type of people who that want to be around people like themselves. What I'm saying is they want to be around people like Ernie, people who just, people just good old boys just like themselves, people who, what I'm saying is they want to be around people who see, uh maybe a little goody good laying on the table. They're not going to run back out and tell nobody about it, right? They're going to, you don't do that. I mean, what I'm saying is when they invite you into their homes, you're like one of them. And when you leave, you don't leave with, running to law enforcement either. If you happen to see something that, um, like I said, some goody good or anything else, but you can't have law enforcement, being your bestest friend, because they ain't your friend. They are sworn in, to uphold and obey the law, and they can't turn a blind eye to this or to that, when they're law enforcement. And those people don't want that around their property, around their home. And that's why they don't have a problem talking to people like us, is because we're just like them. I don't want law enforcement around my house either.
Oh,
Right.
no. But when it comes to this, I'll give you an example. I was eating at the Purple Cow, and that's in Kingsport there. You know what I'm talking about, right? You've
Hmm.
heard of that. Okay, so it had been a while since I've been there, and I was eating at Purple Cow. Well, there were some Kingsport police officers there. They knew me. I had the hat on. I was wearing the hat. I wore the hat for a reason, and everybody was catching on to it too. So they come over there, and they're asking me. They're literally asking me about this case, and I'm like, "Oh man, it's a hornet's nest." I was like, "He's like, yeah." He said, "You're into some things." He said, "One thing," and they was laughing. They said, "One thing." They said, would you really, if you had the opportunity, quit Don?" And I said, now the old me, I said, man, I would do it in a heartbeat. But knowing what I'm up against right now and what I have to have my mindset as, I have to also take it from a bipartisan position of it and say, well, let's look at all the, all the opportunities and all the things that could have happened that he would have had opportunities with, not just me, but him. See, that a lot of people don't look at that. What
Right.
was the opportunities that he had, and what was the advantages that he had, and what was the gain? See, people don't do, here's something I learned in life. People don't do things unless there's some sort of gain in it, okay? Like, you have to have some sort of gain, and it ain't always financial. It could be a boost in the public or something. But we all know Don Wells and what he is about. There's always going to be a sort of a gain in it. Now, what did Don have to gain about Summer going missing? See, a lot of people keep forgetting that part, and they just automatically say, "Well, he did it. He did this, that." But not only him, you have to take each one of the suspects and say, "Well, what did they have to gain?" Well, Don Wells tells it in the interview he did with me. She's worth a lot of gold. He gives out things that are there. Now, if you take gold as just what it is in gold, we all know that gold stands for different ways, and it can be a term for money or a term, for a financial gain of something. So let's talk about this. What
Right.
did he have to gain? I'm asking you, what did he have to gain?
Well, you know what? In my opinion, this is just my opinion, and I've always thought it. Because Don Wells, the first thing Don Wells said to me is, "I'm afraid of prison. I don't want to go to prison. I'm scared of prison." You know, he on multiple occasions, he had told me that. And so I think that, you know, the real pot of gold was staying out of prison because of what they had, the operation that they had been running, and the things they were doing and allowing to be done to those children. I believe, you know, there's pictures of Summer just a couple of days before she disappeared, and she was, you know, in very bad shape. I mean, a blind man could see she was very bent over, very sick. A blind man could see by the photos, you know, that we was able to acquire, that Summer was bent over and had a little girlfriend, pretty much, you know, having to hold her up and lead her around. She tried to go down a slippy slide. It showed her youngest brother trying to pick her up because she couldn't get up on her own. And you know, kids that age, you know, they go down
Hmm.
the slide, they get right up and ready to go again. Uh,
Hmm.
she was really bad off. She was really sick, and she had been for a while. And they had been planning whatever they had done for a while, you know. And we know that by Don Wells. You know, he, on the 14th, he fired his co-worker, drove the Subaru so it wouldn't look like, you know, he only drove it on the 15th for Starlink. He drove it on the 14th, and he fired a coworker in order to blame everything on, because, you know, law enforcement always asks, is there anybody really pissed at you? Is there somebody, you know, that would want to do something like this to you? They always ask those
Oh
questions.
yeah, that's one of the first questions they ask. Who's your enemies?
And so he fired his coworker to blame it on. Also, the night that night of the 14th, after Jackie Dobbs came up there, um, Andy Bernard, Jody Sue, Don Wells, and Candus went out looking um, for Jackie. And I asked Andy Bernard, I said, why was you guys not looking for him? And Andy wouldn't answer. He pleaded the fifth. And, you know, said that, you know, he ain't going to answer because it could incriminate him. And he didn't answer the question for me. But I believe they thought, I think that Don kind of was thinking twice about that coworker, um, because that coworker's a pretty, you know, a country boy and pretty damn mean, and Don didn't know, you know, what this guy might do, him trying to blame some shit like that on him. And I think they thought Jackie Dobbs would have been an easier target. And I believe that they went looking for him, you know, at all the places they suggested he stay at. I believe they went looking for him because they wanted to plant something, you know, to make it look like it was him instead of, you know, the coworker. But thank
Mhm.
God the coworker's car was broke down. He had a bunch of neighbors and people around that day, you know, helping him fix the vehicle,
And they collaborated his story.
and yeah, and they
They were
absolutely.
able to collaborate. Yeah.
I mean, you know, thank God for that, or he could have been in prison for something he didn't even do.
Wow.
And, you know, and Don Wells was driving that vehicle, because it had Starlink. But get this, Andy Bernard also was driving his wife's newer vehicle because it had GPS. Both of them wanted to make sure their phones and their cars were going to be able to, you know, consolidate where both of them was on that particular day. So, you know, that raises a big red flag, and that shows that they're all in cahoots to whatever happened to this little girl.
So one thing an investigator will take, and they'll take out what relationships they had, their characteristics, and before and after the event, and they'll do a timeline by the, you know, just with that. So,
Mhm.
and a lot of people haven't done that. A lot of people don't do that. You know, they go in the, well, they're good buddy here, but then going through it, you see them start falling apart. And now I don't think none of them talk with any of them, do they?
They do. Actually, to be honest with you, we got Fred Hill sitting up in Michigan, and this mother freaker's got eyes and ears all over Tennessee.
Mhm.
And I mean, and Don Wells, he's talking with Fred Hill, clean up in Michigan. And not only that, but you got Andy Bernard, like I said, Andy Bernard and Chad Arnold. Chad Arnold was stocking us up over at the cemetery, and the first thing he did was call Andy Bernard, and then Andy Bernard made it a point to come right in here to my chat and let us know He come in, he said, Prayer Garden, I seen you little friend over at the cemetery. Yeah, he wanted to let me know that he knew we were checking that grave out. And then Fred Hill and Ziggy started trying to figure out who that was and what they were, what they were looking for and everything else, and got all into it to, try to pick it apart. So they're scared of that grave. You got all of them, and that grave that particular day had a bunch of shit on top of it. It looked like somebody raked that whole cemetery on top of that particular grave so you wouldn't be able to find it. And that's the truth.
And you
so
see,
trying to hide it.
And of course, you've seen it. You've seen what they done. You've seen all that. Now I've noticed too. Also, I was watching.
And it had flowers on it. It had dollar store flowers on it. That's the reason. We went up there. Is because Candus and Dom Wells had showed a video of them memorializing Summer early. They didn't do it on the 15th of June. They did it before June the 15th. And I think they did it more when they did it more around the time they was plotting against this child to do what they was going to do than they did on the date they done it. And anyway, that's why we were up there looking over that gravesite because we wanted to see if they left anything there while they was memorializing her, and they did. They left flowers there, and not only that, but Don B went and checked out the swimming hole, the horse pond, and there was flowers there too. So there's flowers at the horse pond where I truly believe Summer ended up on alive, and then there's flowers on the grave where I do believe she's buried. And then they went to the place she spent the most time at around her swing and videoed it, with some dollar store lights. And, so I think they covered the three places that were, the three vital places to everything that happened to Summer.
Right. Now, let me ask you a question. This horse place. Give me some more information about that place. What you're referring to?
You mean the swimming hole?
Yeah, the swimming hole.
Well, I believe the swimming hole is. See, here's what.
I mean, I know where it's at. I mean, you saying you believe that's. Go ahead.
This is what I truly believe, Ernie. I believe that Candus and Grant. I believe they have been planning to do something with Summer for a while. Because she was sick, she was deteriorating. They were going to go to prison. If they took her to a doctor, they were going to go to prison because of what was wrong with her. And so, personally, in my opinion, I believe that they knew they had to get rid of her, and they came up with a plan. They had a plan for Candus to use her leg as an excuse to go into Kingsport. She needed to go to emergency room, and in order to pick up Hunter and go to the swimming hole. And so they said, we took Mom to the emergency room, and that's what we was doing there. And that's, what led us over to pick up Hunter and go to the swimming hole. And, to make it just sound like a day out, Grandma had to go to emergency room type thing. But here's the thing, Ernie. They didn't feed this little girl the whole day. They took Grandma to the emergency room, and instead of, Candus waiting on her, going in with her mom like most daughters would. I mean, if I took my mother to emergency room, I'm taking my ass in there, I don't care if I got one child or all of them. I'm going to go in there, right? I'm going to sit down. I'm going to wait until my mother's done, and then I'm going to and if somebody calls me, I'm not going to be going and picking them up because, my mother is more important than going and trying to run around with some teenage boy, in a time of an emergency. This is an emergency. They're at an emergency room. So that tells me that it wasn't no fucking emergency. It wasn't no big thing. This woman gets out, she goes in by herself, and Candus, that gives Candus the opportunity to, her and this Hunter is texting each other. But here's the thing. They stopped texting and he makes a phone call. So there had to be something that, he didn't want on text. They wanted a conversation that, wasn't on no text messages. So that's suspicious within itself. And then she goes and picks him up. She gets a call from her mom. She takes the boy with her. They go over to the swimming hole. I mean, if her mom's done at the emergency room, and why didn't she just go pick her mom up and head back home where her 3 children were left alone in a house, up on a big fucking hill? Why didn't they go, get something to eat, go back, feed the other children, and, start their day? Right there shows you that this is a bunch of bullshit. So, and mom's knee is so hurting so bad, but they're going to go to a motherfucking swimming hole instead of going back home where mom can rest. Are you kidding me? The whole plan was to use Candus's knee to go into Kingsport, pick Hunter up, go to that swimming hole, and it's the perfect crime, because if you go out in water and you put somebody underwater, you and me both know you can't hear them scream, can you, Ernie?
No, not really. No.
You're not going to hear no scream.
And
It's what they call a silent death. And then being 5 years old, nobody's going to pay attention to you packing a 5-year-old back.
Advantage you have of.
Nobody's going to pay attention to you packing a 5-year-old child back to a vehicle, putting it in after swimming. People carry 5-year-old kids all the time. And Hunter said that Summer was wet against the driver's side door on a pillow. Summer was not seen at Walgreens picking up the prescription. She was not seen at Sonic's. She was not seen at the grocery store. She was not seen at none of those places. She was not seen moving in that car at all. That's why Ronnie Lawson said, "What took you 4.5 hours to call 911?" And, I believe Ronnie knows that Summer was deceased on that milk jugs. They just can't prove it. They can't prove it because there's makeup on Summer's face and there's lipstick on her mouth.
I agree. I seen the pictures. I mean, I seen it.
And so, they can't 100% say, yeah, she was, they believe she was, from what they was able to see. But believing and proving is 2 different things. Forensics didn't have enough, to say, this kid ain't alive. So, and so they take Summer into Allison's house, which Allison had cameras. On June 15th, she had cameras. On June 16th, she had none. Absolutely none. The cameras disappeared from Allison's house. Allison also knew the cameras weren't working out on the street. Everybody in the neighborhood had got a notice to watch your children at the park because the cameras were all not working. And Allison knew that too. And Allison lied, trying to say that, Summer was seen on camera out front of her house and all this shit. No, Summer wasn't. And Allison also tried to tell Chris M that, she believed that Summer, on those milk jugs, she believed that maybe she wasn't alive. And then he said, well, your son was with them. And she's like, oh no, she was alive. She was alive. And he said, 1 to 10, she's alive. What would you pick? And she's like, 10. After he mentioned Hunter, so that shows she's she's taking up for her boy.
Well, and there's a point right there. Chris, I remember that part because Chris called her up on that. I remember that. And he said, hey, he gave her another reason to say, well, wait a minute, change it up. And that was actually a gotcha question he hit her with.
Oh, yeah.
Or it wasn't a question, it was a statement he hit. It was a statement. And he said, yes, your son was with him or something like that. Or I remember that.
He done a hell of a job. and I'm going to tell you something. Allison lied because she's protecting her boy, and but they did let the cat out of the bag. That he came back shaking, his knees were knocking, his hands were shaking, his teeth were chattering. He was a fucking mess. He didn't, he was, and he also had a breakdown a few months later, and came out and was screaming, what am I supposed to do, what am I supposed to do, and just live with this shit. And his dad and Allison, they, you better live with it or your ass is going to prison. You let those people take you there and you did the dirty deed for them, and you're going to prison. Hunter knows what he did, in my opinion. He knows what the fuck he did. He knows exactly what he did for Candus's ass. Candus knows what he did. Grandma knows what he did. And I believe they didn't go back on 2 days later to see what law enforcement said to Hunter. They went back 2 days later to get the clothes, the wet clothes that they took off of Summer, and Allison left there for Allison to wash and bleach or whatever she needed to do with them. They wanted to go back and retrieve them clothes. So, Allison didn't have nothing to implicate Don and Candus. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I understand that.
That's what they went back for, was to get them clothes. And, and they hid all of that stuff in a box. I mean, Don and Candus was working harder to keep Summer from being found than they was actually working to get their daughter found. They was doing absolutely nothing, and then listen to this remark that Candus made, because I didn't see anyone else pointing this out, but it's kind of sickening the way her mind works.
YouTube, we do that, but at the same time, we try to reach a.
But why would you want to do YouTube on a little pretty girl that went missing?
What the fuck? Did you hear that? She says, why would you want to do YouTube on a little girl, a pretty little girl that went missing? Why would you want to do YouTube on a pretty little girl that went missing?
Yeah, I heard that. I was when she said that, I was like, oh my God. But his comeback is perfect.
Like, no, but she was like insinuating that, there's some kind of perverts or fucking something, right? I mean.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what the fuck she's insinuating. Like, you guys are fucking perverts wanting to do YouTube on a pretty little girl. How sick is that? And I'm going to tell you, when people with her education talk, they're talking more about their damn self than they'll ever be talking about the people they're talking to or about. You know that, same as I do. That's fucking 101 psychology right there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And, the biggest thing, with that, these people catch themselves. There's a couple of different things I caught on to, and I don't think anybody else caught on to. The big thing, one of the big things I did, and I actually messaged, I was trying to message people, other YouTubers about it, was the thing about the Hawkins County thing. And he said, no, Jonesboro, that. I caught on to that real quick. But anyways, like, what people don't understand is, look at these people's expressions. Here's something that's really scary. When you get to see their expressions, one of the things, it's a proven fact, a predator, when a predator's confronted, they always have the god-awful look, like they're, Don Wells is real big on expressions. And one of the things when Trudy mentions, now Dawn don't know what she's going to mention, and she says, because of all this mess, they're causing us. And then she says, Ernie Shell. Dawn's face goes all to hell, literally. And then they say, and Hawkins, and Hawkins, Ernie Shell and Hawkins. So I thought at first they said, I had to go back and listen to it. I thought they said Ernie Shell in Hawkins, but they did not. They said Ernie Shell and Hawkins. So that right there told me that law enforcement is actually listening, because I just talked to law enforcement. I talked to a couple of different law enforcement officers. But anyways, with Candus here, Notice when she says that. Rewind that. Does it show? Have you got it where it shows her when it says that? Have you got it when is it the video or is it just the photo?
It's the photo. It's the photo when she's running her mouth.
We're missing.
Well, that's so, like she said just now, honey.
I want to do YouTube on a little pretty girl that went missing.
Well, that's so, like she said just now, honey, to get her name out there, to get her picture out there.
See? Exactly.
Reach a.
But why would you want to do YouTube on a little pretty girl that went missing?
Well, that's so, like she said just now, honey, to get her name out there, to get her picture out there. We do YouTube. We do that, but at the same time, we try to reach a.
But why would you want to do YouTube on a little pretty girl that went missing?
Well,
you believe that shit?
You know, the thing about it is, check this out.
Why would you deter? Why would you deter someone from looking for a missing child? Why would you deter someone, wanting this child found? I mean, if you're not guilty as fuck, why would you care?
I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. If you're not guilty, let's just say this: if you're not guilty, anybody that comes up with an idea about where your child's at, you would be like, if it even checks out and it gets like a big response to it, you would be like, oh yeah, I'm ready to do this. Let's do this. Let's get this done immediately. What do we need to do to get this? But notice everything that people do to do anything with Summer to bring Summer home or any idea, these people are not about it. They don't want to, it's just like, and I understand, and I can understand their point about it. I mean, but let me just say this. Benny Keys.
That's what you do, Ernie. You bring them home.
Benny Keys had Candus on his panel with damn aluminum foil on her head, calling Mars or some shit. I don't know what it was, with a fundraiser for a 24/7 hour live, a 24/7 live. Sorry about that. But no mother with a missing child is going to be on there acting stupid just to try to bring out money and stuff. And I don't even know what the hell they're raising money for, but no mother in their right damn mind, and maybe that's what it is, she's not in her right mind, is going to do that stuff. They're not going to do that. They're not going to be doing that. They're not going to be going and laughing and carrying on about their missing child. They're not going to do that. I'm sorry. That's not how it works. And also, I've always said this, and I always will say this. Any parent that's had a child missing, they never refer to their child as in past tense. And that is a fact. And I believe a lot of people, even Chris Madonna, people like that, investigators, people that are trained. I've had that training. I used to be an investigator. So I know exactly what to look for, the attention to detail, the eye of it, and the questions asked. And when people are asking these questions and these criminals slip up. They slip up. They don't understand the game. They slip up a lot. You can switch up on them and they'll tell you one thing, then ask the question, you rephrase it, ask it a different way, and then they tell you something totally different. But go ahead.
Yeah, also, I believe, what you were saying earlier. I truly believe that they were shaking in their boots. They thought that, these were detectives coming up there, or plain clothes police officers getting ready to arrest their asses. I think that they believed, Ernie, that those people coming up there was coming up there about that cemetery already. Like you said, that's what I believe. I believe that they thought that, what, something been found and their asses were about to get it. What do you?
So if you go to the part where the questions that are being asked, when Candus goes into the house and she calls the private investigators, notice she went into the house to talk to them before she came out the door.
Oh yeah.
So
she sure did. Hold on. We got that picture. Right here. Hold on, Ernie. I'll pull it. It's right here in this video. Don's holding that thing right there, and watch. You're absolutely right. Watch. She's about to take it from him and go in, And that's right there, right there. She's heading into the house with it. Right there's the photo. She takes this, she goes in the house, she calls those investigators. She's in there talking to them. She comes back out and she hands Dawn the phone, right? And she tells Dawn they want to talk to you.
So what happens is they put it on that speaker. He Bluetooths it to the speaker. That way everybody can hear it. What they didn't know, and this is the thing, I don't believe the investigators, or not the investigators, but the Trudy. I'm just going to say Trudy because she's not an investigator. She's not licensed. She did not know that she's being videoed because when she found out she's being videoed, her demeanor changes, her character change, everything changes. Oh, you can't do this. Disclaimer right now, you can't. But Tennessee is a one-party state, and that's something that Fred already knew about. He already done his research on Tennessee. I'm telling you right now, he did because he already knew what he was going to do.
They got fucked on that, didn't they?
That was so.
That guy's like, this is a one-party state. I don't give a damn how many disclaimers you got. As long as one party agrees, that's all it takes, right?
And what she didn't understand is, and where she screwed up at, not only is it a one-party state for audio, it's also a one-party state for video. And let me tell you something let me tell you something he did that nobody caught on to this. In the state of Tennessee, in video, as long as one party is on the thing, everybody's like, oh no, he had the video on Candus and Dawn the whole time. No. In the beginning, he had the video on his wife, and she was asking questions as well. So that put her in the party, and that made it A-OK for the video. And that was smart. And I caught on to that. That was very, very smart because, in the beginning, he wasn't showing Dawn and Candus. He was showing his wife.
Yes.
When he showed his wife and she asked questions too, that put her as a party. In Tennessee, you only have to have one party. And by her being on video, you see what I'm talking about? Before the engagement. So, and also people say, well, before the engagement, they were showing themselves walking up the hill. No. That was before the actual engagement took place. When they got up there, he sat, and there was a way he sat down perfectly too. He sat parallel. He had Dawn over here. She had Candus in her sight. He had Dawn. They switched out, but by doing that, he shows her in the video. And I'm telling you right now, I don't care what people say about that family and that couple. That was brilliant. That was brilliant what they did about that, because that also makes it admissible in court to use against Dawn and Candus if it ever comes out. That right there gives it all perfect. It gives perfect legalities and all that to be used in the court of law against Dawn and Candus if it ever came out. So
I also noticed that. Did you see how smart he was when they was talking about the recordings? And he's like, I can turn it off, and then Dawn started to say something, and he dismissed it because Candus was still on it, but he dismissed it and went into talking to Dawn. And then
he changed the subject. He changed the subject on it,
and didn't ever turn it off. And I thought that was pretty brilliant too. That he just kind of like skipped over it so that okay, we're not going to be turning this off at all. And that was pretty. I mean, that shows that law enforcement is way smarter than Dawn and Candus for sure. And I think Hawkins County was way smarter than them as well. I just think that something wasn't right about that law enforcement and everything they was doing, because for one, I don't know no law enforcement that would, think that a child wandered off, but then leave at midnight, go home, get a good night's rest, get up, eat fucking breakfast, and come back, and just leave a child out there, a child that they believe is out in some fucking wilderness. They're not going to just leave that kid out there all night running around to get, to not be alive the next morning, because that would, really look bad on them, right? They're not going to do that. So that tells me that they, you know, that they pretty much knew she wasn't out there to begin with. What do you think?
I believe you know, everything. So we all know this is a puzzle, and everything's coming together, but it's taken so long to get it put together. And while we've been waiting, people have been just throwing pieces that don't fit in. But when
No,
things do fit,
no law enforcement's going to leave a
no,
5-year-old kid in a wilderness if they truly believe it's there, and go home and go to bed.
no, that ain't how searches work like that.
Oh,
No,
hell no. But they, you know, they did. On June 15th, 2021, at midnight, they knocked off, went home, went the fuck to bed, got up in the morning, ate breakfast and everything else before coming back to look for Summer again. That tells me they knew she wasn't there, because nobody's going to take the risk of, you know, something happened to this kid. I mean, the coroner would have said, oh, you know, something happened to that kid at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning while law enforcement's asses were sleeping. You know, a animal got her or something. And that's, you know, presumed the time of death. How's that going to look on law enforcement? You know, they ain't going to take the risk of that.
no. So here's something too, and you know, I can pretty much dismiss the animal about getting her, because the thing about it is we all know the animals that are around the area, and if an animal would have gotten Summer, there would be something of it. There would be remains. There would be like literally, yes, there would be things that would be found by now. They wouldn't. There's no way that I believe an animal got
Absolutely not.
Summer.
Even law enforcement said if an animal got her, they would have found signs of it.
Well, something else too. Around the house, there would have been scent. There would have been some, and nobody talks about this. An animal. So here's the thing: when an animal's involved in an attack or something like that, there's usually like there's remains left. There's hair. There's teeth. There's whatever, and none of that was found. I mean, there was no disruptions anywhere or nothing. So even if an animal was to grab her and dragged her out, if you look at the area, you would see grass down. You would see where, obviously, even a young kid's going to struggle. You would see that. You would see all that. In a person who tracks people and tracks places and stuff like that from different areas, we know that. We know how to look at the grass. We know how it's going down. We know, if the feet drug, if it dug into the ground. You would have stuff like that no matter what. There was nothing like that. It was just like it was the perfect crime. And it's what it is. It really is. It's a premeditated perfect crime.
Yeah. They went to the swimming hole and got themselves in my opinion, a silent death. They packed it back to the vehicle, took it to Allison's house, cleaned it up there, put makeup on it, dressed it up, propped it on milk jugs, headed back into Ben Hill Road. A few minutes away, they take their little video to prove that they're back in the area with her, that she didn't disappear before, they were coming home. They knew what they were doing. They pulled up there. They had the boys come out, them starving kids come out and grab bags of groceries, they don't ever get nothing to eat. They knew that would occupy them. And, so when the kids was taking all the groceries out, and Candus decided to set Summer up a little bit so the boys could see, that she's in the car, and she's hands them the milk and stuff to carry in the house and so forth and so on. And then, they leave her in the vehicle. And Candus even at one point admitted she left Summer in the vehicle to go get the boys. Why? If Summer was awake and jumping around and all the bullshit, why would she leave her in the vehicle? She left her in the vehicle because Summer wasn't alive. And, she wanted the boys she wanted to gaslight them just like she did everybody with that video. And she did. And as soon as them boys were in the house robbing those bags of groceries and getting back to their video games and everything, And she decides to pull out. Mommy sat right there at the trailer door. She goes down to Fred Hill's house, meets up with this Chad Arnold around 4:30, follows him out because he's a grave digger. They head right over to the Morrison Cemetery where there's that open grave. And you know, and it's already, you know, it's all ready for the tote to go down into. And they put it down in there. They cover it to hell up. And Candus comes back up on the hill an hour later, gaslighting them boys like she sent the sister in the house when she didn't. Those boys are scared of these mother freaking idiots because they're mean as hell to them anyway and doing horrible stuff all the time to them. So, you know, there's like, I don't know, Mom, she's probably down in the basement, you know, because they're scared. They're all scared up, you know. And they hadn't seen, they kept telling everybody their sister was outside. She was outside because they didn't ever see her inside. That's what it was. And, you know, but they seen her in the they just assumed she got out. They didn't know that she was on the line. They didn't, you know, they were busy getting them groceries in the house and, you know, trying to get something to eat. They wasn't worried about their sister. They thought, you know, they didn't think they had these type of parents that would do something so evil to their sister. And, you know, but they did, in my opinion. And they went right over there and they know that little girl's down in there. You know, that's what I believe, that she's right down in there. And it wouldn't take nothing to find out. And it's the perfect crime because Don Wells sat there with a grin on his face and he looked right past this news reporter towards that graveyard. If you watch the video, you'll see him look right past the news reporter towards that graveyard with a shitty grin on his face and said, "Oh, Summer won't ever be found." He was so confident that, you know, oh, she's in somebody else's grave. They ain't going to ever find her. And Candus said, "Oh, Summer always be with me," because Candus can walk right out her fucking door and look over there.
So I want to say this, and this is going to be the hard part about what we're doing here. Let's say that something is uncovered. Let's say that something is there. Let's say that Summer. Let's just say that there's remains. Let's just say there's remains found. Okay. Then what people don't understand is this investigation, it takes a whole new turn. But not only does the investigation for the legal standpoint take a new turn about it, but also the morals and the people, because you have to understand, look how many people that are pushing the Summer Wells case and the people that care about Summer. And I'm going to be honest with you, if it is, and if it, I wouldn't want to be Don, Candus, I wouldn't want to be none of the suspects, because I want to tell you right now, they will be people that literally, it pretty much confirms what people already know. In that area and around them areas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, Georgia, there's people that already know. So this takes a turn into something that's like, if law enforcement don't act, then people will act. And that's going to be a very bad thing for some people, because they're going to know then that these evil monsters and these people literally, they'll know they destroyed a child's life. They destroyed a child. And in these mountains, and I'm telling you right now, people, there's people that I know personally that, I mean, they've done some crazy things in life. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't want to be nowhere around any of that if I was a suspect for that. I'm telling you right now, and I'm not trying to pull nothing out and try to say this and that, but this case is so big, and there's so many people behind that, and there's so many people pushing for Summer Wells to be found. But also in the moral aspect of it, it's going to be a very sad thing to know that happened. Yeah. And that's going to be scary. And you know, I can't even fathom. I don't even know how I can take my mind to even think about that. How can a parent or someone that's close to that child, let's say that it is what it is, how could they have done that? Then you go into evil. I mean, pure evil.
Right, right. I'm going to tell you something, Ernie. That's hard for me and you to understand because we're not like that. And, you know, we won't ever be able to understand it. No matter how much we want to, we won't ever be able to understand how these people have minds that they have. Because if, you know, and, you know, one time I was, really wanted to understand how people could be evil. I wanted to I almost had a need to try to understand, what's in their head, how they think, what makes them tick. And I'm going to tell you, and this is the honest to God's truth. I heard a voice say, "You don't want to ever know, because knowing, you're in fear of becoming like them."
So
Thank God you don't know.
let me say something on that.
And I was thanking God I didn't know.
Let me say something on that. When you do this kind of work and you've involved in missing kids cases and you've done this and you've done that, I will always say this. When you go into the dark, if you don't have that lifeline to pull you out, you
Yeah.
become that dark. You become that dark. You become the darkness that you hunt.
You
You
have
become
to
the darkness. You've got to have God on
you
your
have
side,
to
and that's that
walk in
light.
there with that light, don't you, Ernie? You gotta walk in there knowing Jesus is walking with you.
So I'm going to say this. You walk in with light, but you have to always remember, too, sometimes just having that light, it will give you a peace and understanding. But the farther you go in the dark, sometimes you got to grab a hold of that dark, that evil, and pull it to the light. You got to pull it to the light sometimes. You've
Uh,
got to change your ways up. You've got to.
That's what we're doing now. We're pulling it to the light. I mean, I truly believe, I don't think we're pulling it. I believe God is.
Mhm.
I've got so many people praying so hard. And I took note over the 5 years that little by little, God has been letting us, understand more and more and more of Summer's case and how it played out on June 15th, 2021. Um, he's let us, understand that it was premeditated. He's let us understand, why. He even gave us the paper, Ernie. He gave us consolidated proof that these children were being done exactly the way we thought they were being done. You know, God's been very good to this case. I don't think people could have handled all the truth at once on Summer's case because people were too deep and too involved in it. And I think it, I think it might have destroyed a few people to know the truth all at once. And I think that's why God's been pulling it to the light little by little, you know?
Mhm.
And I truly believe that we're at the end of this darkness being pulled to the light. I believe that, this grave site is going to be, the grand finale, to be honest.
You know, I'm calling it, for me, it's the last stand. Um, I think that there's no so here's what I don't understand about other people. There's no leads nowhere else. There's no leads of anything. So by crossing this off the list and it being like one of the main things, and I'm gonna say this too. JLR did a video, and people didn't check this out. People didn't catch this. He walks over the grave and he pretty much talks about. He's like, "Well, this grave here don't even look like a grave. It's got stuff all over it." Nobody caught on to that.
Right?
That is Timothy Moore. I was sitting there thinking, like, why ain't nobody catching on to that? And that was way before any of this. That was like, back when he was in it. He actually did a live and walks over and he's like, all these other graves are clean. They're cleaned off. This here's a grave, and he takes his foot and he moves it out, and you can see the stone. And he's like, and he talks about it. He's like, well, this don't even look like a grave. He does that.
Right. Right. He did. That is true. Yes, he did. Our bucket list. I am so happy to see you, girlfriend. I missed you. God bless. I really missed you. I was praying for you, asking for prayers for you, and I am so glad to see you're back. God bless.
So I got an idea. And we can even do this before or whatever or during this. How about this? Now, there was a creator, of course, she scammed everybody, and you know what I'm talking about, that offered to do polygraph tests for 3 or 4 of the individuals, the suspects, correct?
Right.
Now, we all know that that was never going to happen and that was going to be a scam. Well, I thought it was going to happen at first until I found out who was conducting it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I was like, there's no way this is happening. There's no way.
When
So
Fred,
how about I offer each one of those people $300 a piece? I'll give them out of my own money, $300 a piece. We'll give them 3 people $300 a piece and pay for their polygraph test if they will do it. How's that? I'll put that on the table right now.
Yeah.
Now. I'll offer them $300 a piece, $300 a piece, and I will pay for each one of the polygraph tests right now. How's that? I think that's more than fair. That's more than fair. I will do it right now. And I'll tell you right now, I will make it to where you don't have to have a driver's license. You just have to have an ID. How's that? I know the people that would do it in a heartbeat. We can do it right now. I will pay. I will pay for your travel. I will pay for your travel and everything.
Ernie, but I'll tell you what, I know for a fact there is there's retired officers that ran polygraphs, for years who still run polygraphs, and they don't need, anything other than an ID, like you said. Just a freaking any type of ID, proving it's you. Anything with a picture you on it in your name, and they will conduct the polygraph. And there was no reason for Fred Hill not to. They were making excuses, and I believe they split the money. I believe Cher collected in all that money, and I believe that they split it up, or maybe she kept it all, and that either they were acting pissed off, and they split it. It was a big fucking scam, or else they was going to split it, and Cher kept it all, and they really was pissed. I don't know, but anyway, it went. I'm like you. It was a fucking scam. They would never plan on doing it anyway. That's the truth. And always could go. They could always go to the Steve Wilkos show, and they could get and they wouldn't only get a vacation, a hoteled vacation. They pay for your plane fare. They pay for your hotel. They pay for everything. They pay for everything. You get a vacation, a mini vacation. You get to go on the Steve Wilkos show. You take the test, and then he reads it right there on the stage. And if you pass, you get to sit down. You get, and Fred and Ziggy get a freedom vacation.
So with the Steve Wilkos show, the only problem about that is the show was canceled.
No, Steve Wilkos still on.
I think it's canceled now because I had an opportunity. I was talking to the producer, and someone let me know that it had been canceled. It may be back on that. I'll look and check that out. But that's something we can check on. But here's the thing.
I think he did cancel there for a little bit, but he's back. I'm pretty sure he's back because I was just watching it.
Let's see. Let me see here. Someone said that Steve Wilkos is not on the air no more. He's doing reruns and stuff, I think. But I don't think the new shows are. I don't think it is because his producer. I was in contact with his producer and stuff. I was going to go in there and just take a polygraph test.
Well, Dr. Phil was going to retire, but he's still running, and he'll do a polygraph.
Oh yeah, Dr. Phil would probably be the one that want to do that. He's already had a run in. He's already had a run in with all that, especially with the whales.
Exactly, and he would be glad to have another person from this case show up. Absolutely. So, what I'm saying is if they really want to, if where there's a will, there's a way. You
Oh
really
yeah.
want something done, you really want to prove yourself innocent, you can get it done.
So here's something I'm gonna say. If we are, if the mere mentioning of my name is already shaking them up that bad, and all I've done is a few interviews in Kingsport and the Hawkins County area, then can you imagine when we're actually big time boots on the ground and got the team, and we're running around there, and people are going to be losing their mind. They're going to lose their mind. They ain't know what's going to happen. See, people fear what they don't know, and that's what a predator like these people here. Because you have to understand, they're predators because they preyed on this little girl, and no matter whether we like it or not, and who if you like them or not, the thing about it is Don himself has put himself in a position of where he is a predator because he automatically said in my interview that I did with him, he said, I know and I've been around places where they were selling these children. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, and I don't care who clips it, who says anything bad about me about this, but if you're a grown man or you're a person who believes in faith and the way the USA works and being free, I'm going to say this. If you're around those areas and you don't see something and you don't say something like it always says and you don't do nothing about it, there is nothing to you and you are a piece of shit. I don't give a damn how much church you go to. I don't care what kind of teacher you are or anything. If you're around those areas and you say something like that and you see that and you don't do anything, you are a piece of shit, okay? That's exactly it.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. I absolutely agree. Did you want to hear Marlena Crawford?
Oh, yeah, you said she had mentioned. Yeah, I want to hear this. I never heard this before. Yes.
Clear this up too. PG said that I've been at Morrison Cemetery. I've not been there not one time since summer has passed.
Did you hear that?
Wait a minute. Whoa. So,
Listen to this.
And let's just clear this up too. PG said that I've been at Morrison Cemetery. I've not been there not one time since summer has passed.
Did you hear that?
yes,
There
I've
you
not
go.
been there one time
Since summer has
since
passed.
summer has passed.
There you
Did
go.
you know what she just did? Did anybody catch that? Did anybody catch that in the chat?
She confirmed it.
She confirmed, like literally, like since summer has passed. So at one time, you were present
Yes.
and you just now put a location being Morrison Cemetery and you put a person involved in it being Summer Wells. So if you put the two together, then guess what? You might as go digging in the well. Seriously, people. People catch themselves and they get caught up in their things. What else did you say after that? Do you have the whole thing on that?
Here you go.
And let's just clear this up too. PG said that I've been at Morrison Cemetery. I've not been there not one time since summer has passed. Or whatever happened to her.
Oh, in the whatever part. See, that's the redact back. That's the recall out. So, yeah. So, people, let me say this to the other YouTubers that don't want me to do this. I'm definitely doing it now. I had never heard that. I am definitely doing it now, okay? And there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do, especially when the Morrison family says, hey, we want to know for a fact now. We want to see this. We want this.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. It's going to happen, people. Now, I never heard that. Never have I heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
Since summer has passed, right?
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Summer has passed. There's another thing. How did you know summer's dead?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Holy hell. See, people, you have to take these words from these people and you have to tear it down. You have to. You have to build upon that. No matter whether we like it or not, you have to become that army that was, and there, you know what? There's a lot of people that scattered out here that's no longer Summer's army. Whether we like it or not, they are no longer Summer's army, okay? But when you hear that, I don't know why these other YouTubers ain't jumping on this. I'd never heard that before. Never.
Oh, I played it, Ernie. I played it. I've been on it. I mean, I've been a one band man until you came. You came along and actually listened to me, and I, like I said, I thank God you did. I thank God you did. None of the others wanted to listen because they didn't want her case solved.
Can I give this? I want to give it. I want to give this. I want to give this to the new sheriff's. The new sheriff's coming in. Can I use this to play to his family? Because some members of his family actually rest out. I'm going to use this to play.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now. Let's play that again. I want that whole clip played again. Can we do it again?
We can do
I want to hear the tone of voice and how it changes.
And let's just clear this up too. PG said that I've been at Morrison Cemetery. I've not been there not one time since summer has passed, or whatever happened.
What? Oh my God, it's a rebuttal. So let me ask you a question. What? Oh my God.
And then this too.
Said this since the beginning to people that made a difference. That I've told people about having the dream that I've, in the open grave. It's been told. It's not a lie. And I have heard my whole life that the best time to get rid of somebody is when there's an open grave. The dude was buried on what day? The 18th? Okay, so 3 days after Summer went missing, they buried that dude. Do you think they dug the grave the day that Summer went missing? I'm saying it was dug between the day the dude died and the day Summer went missing, the 11th. Not if she went over there on the 15th when Candus left at some point in time off that fucking hill, took her over there. Maybe she went to Fred's and Fred helped her. If it was open on the 15th, all she would have had to do is go over there and dig down just a little bit more, put her in there, cover her back up. When they brought the vault in a few days before they buried the dude, the concrete vault would have been set on top of it, and nobody would have known no different. And we know who dug the graves. We know all that shit. So I don't think nobody would have paid any attention to if she was done in there the day of the 15th.
So he just said if she was done in there the day of the 15th. So let's talk about what he just said. If she was done in there the day of the 15th.
Yeah.
So I don't believe the timeline. I believe it happened a little before. They had time enough to get Dawn back out toward Jonesboro, but he said Hawkins. So if we take the time period and the time away and rewind it just a little bit, Don put himself in Rogersville, that we know now.
Right.
But in the time period, in the actual time that they give law enforcement, because I remember Don telling me there was 8 different timelines and law enforcement told them they had to pick one. So I remember that. But let's say that timeline is not real. Let's say that it's not let's just say it's a made up timeline and there's more to it.
Well, I tell you what, I know for a fact because Don would be calling me every day. A lot of times Candus was going to work with him also to avoid law enforcement. And that's what, that's what he would say. He's, that he called me and say, I got to go get Candus. And I said, what? And he's like, I got to go get Candus. Law enforcement's up there knocking on the doors. And he would be real upset. And he would be talking, about how they sneak up there, they try to show up and they want the timeline and how they're trying to tell him to get her, to sit down with her. And And he says he, uses his work as an excuse for everything. I'm working all the time and this and that and one thing and another. And I said, well, you have Sundays off. You guys go to church and stuff. Maybe after church, you can take time to get a notepad and do, what you need to do then and so forth and so on. I'm all for, whatever it takes to find summer. And, well, yeah, I guess I could do, how Don talks. And anyway, he would run back to the house and the call would drop at a certain time. The call would drop. And, every single time that he was coming from that particular job site, and it doesn't matter morning, noon, or night, it would drop. And he'd pick Candus up and they'd head back and it would drop. At a certain area, it always dropped. So the day that Summer, they made that phone call, what I found a little suspicious too was him and Candus was able to keep a connection the whole entire time. They was able to keep this connection and nothing dropped the day Summer disappeared. I think that's bullshit. He had to be on the other side of that, drop area, which is, the side of Ben Hill Road, not Jonesburg. He'd have had to already been on the other side where he was closer to 110 Ben Hill Road, because the call didn't drop. So there was, a lie there. You're right. There was a lie there about, where he was at a particular time. And I knew that when he said that the call, it was just a miracle. And, after he had said that, he had called me up and he said, what's up, sissy? I said, not much. What's up with you? He says, I'm on my way home. He said, I thought I'd call you and just talk for a little bit. And he was telling me about, the detectives and this and that and one thing and another. And he made it back and he's pulling up on the hill, gets out and goes in to talk to Candus. And he said, and Candus like, who's on the phone? And he says, sissy. And Candus is like, hey, sissy, what's going on? And, starts talking. He said, the weirdest thing, the call didn't drop today. Did it, sissy? The call didn't drop. That's because he was on the other fucking side of it. When he called me, he was already on the other side. So when he called, when him and Candus, that call didn't drop because he's always already on the other side.
So I'm going to say this: when we do what we're doing with our team, we're going up there and we're actually going to have Starlink running. We're going to have satellites. We're going to be able to connect, and we've got ways to do that. We've actually been studying that too a lot. We're going to have them hooked onto the vehicles, and we're going to be able to go and do what we need to do. We will have service on the phones. We will have people that are armed. We will be around people who know what the hell they're doing.
Well,
so yes, we're going.
Not only that, Ernie, but Jody Sue lied about that screen too. She lied about it, and Don Wells was using it. And I told him, I said, you know how stupid you sound when you're using that screen? Because the night before he had used it, he said it was talking on shares, and he said somebody was questioning him about something, and he said, well, our neighbor heard a scream too. And then he had used it, on the news, and he had been using it. And I told him, I said, do you know how stupid you sound when you use that scream? And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, last night you used the scream again. I noticed that you used it on the news. I noticed that you used it, on shares. More than once you've used it. And it just sounds stupid. And he's like, no, it doesn't. Why does it sound stupid? He started to get an attitude. I said, if you're going to get an attitude, I'm going to hang up. And he started to get real, he's getting real ugly. And I told him, I said, look, I'm just saying, if you want to listen to me, great. If you don't want to listen to me, great. I can hang up the phone. And he's like, I think he even called me a dumb fucking bitch, that it didn't sound stupid. And I told him, I said, you know what? I'm just going to hang up. That's obviously what you want. And he said, no, I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet. Go ahead. Go ahead. And I told him, I said, look, at 4:43, 4:47, your daughter was still in the custody of Grandis and Candus, because they didn't even get home until around 3:30 with the groceries and packing them in the house and everything. Then Grandma supposedly took her nap, which would have threw it up to 4:30 before Summer would ever even be thinking about coming out of the house with Candus. And Candus said she came out of the house and went over and talked to Grandma before she even came back and hollered for Summer to come out of the house. So it would have had to have been after 4:30 when they started planting the flowers. How in the hell could, it have been Summer screaming if she's planting flowers, washing her hands, getting a piece of candy, and hadn't even went back into the house yet? How could it be her? That's why I'm saying it sounds stupid. Well, he immediately had to hang up with me. And I knew he's calling Candus. And then he's on his way home from work and he calls me back. And he asks me what I'm doing. And he's talking about, how he, thinks that it's Allison and True and them. And he's telling me, about Andy Bernard and Jody Sue's issues and everybody else and all of this bullshit. And anyway, he gets home, pulls up, and he goes into the house. And guess who is on the phone? Jody Sue and Candus. And guess what Jody Sue's telling Candus?
What's that?
She ain't changing that damn timeline, and where's her money? Where's her money? And I asked Candus, I said, is that Jody Sue? And Candus said, yes. I said, what does she want? What money? And Candus said, the gift cards that I get and Cash App and Venmos. I said, why are you giving her money? Is she giving you any of the money she's getting? Because at the time, people were sponsoring her, giving her money, trying to get her off the hill because Andy left her and she, and they wanted her, his family wanted her gone. And people were, especially that Tiffany Marie, right, was working hard for her and a couple other people. And anyway, I said, she giving you any of the money she's getting? And Candus said, no. I said, why the fuck you giving her your money? And Jody Sue knows. She knows I heard what the hell they were talking about. And Candus and her and Candus hung up. But I'm going to tell you what, the fucking scream was bullshit. She didn't hear no fucking animalistic screams, and neither did her son. That was all bullshit, made up, and a bunch of fucking lies. And that shows that they were, that all shows that they're in on it, because why in the hell would she lie for Candus if she don't have a dog in the race? Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, when I look at it and I try to eliminate suspects, that's what law enforcement does.
Whatever
when you try to eliminate them as being a suspect, and you can't, because it all ties back into them all again. I mean, there's a couple maybe that you could say maybe no, but then you run into the fact of the good old boy system and the way Hawkins is and the way it was. I don't think it is like that now. I think everybody's paying attention now because of what I've done and what I brought into and hell breaking loose. Because we've really rattled the trees. We really have.
Have you ever had a police officer run you off a piece of land that you had a clear title to? A clear deed?
Never. So tell me about that.
Well, this Jackie Dobbs shows up. He's got a clear deed to a piece of land right there up there next to Jody Sue and the neighbor, right in the middle of them. Jody Sue and Andy, well, first person Dobbs sees is Don Wells. Next thing you know, Andy Bernard and Jody Sue's descending down on him. So you know Don called him, let him know this man's down there. They come descending down on him, and Jackie Dobbs is letting you know, telling them, hey, look, I got a clear deed to this land. And Jody Sue agreed that she'd been up there checking the property lines all fucking day long. Her and her son been checking up. So somebody went up there and surveyed it and had it surveyed off because she was out there fucking with it. And this man had a clear deed to that land. He paid cash for it. And they call law enforcement, and law enforcement runs him off.
Wow. I never heard that one.
Absolutely. And I thought that was suspicious as hell that they're able to call law enforcement up in there or somebody with a badge and get people ran off to have clear deeds to the property. It's dangerous to buy a piece of land in there because law enforcement to come in and tell you, even if you got a fucking deed, it's not yours.
Right. So let me ask you a question, PJ. You mentioned a couple of YouTubers and their dealings with, some of these suspects and having them on their channels and stuff before. Do you think maybe that some of these YouTubers, like now they have different opinions on what actually happened now? Like with the Jody Sue thing, I know you mentioned Tiffany Marie, and she had Jody Sue on her panel all the time and let her talk, let her take over her panel, pretty much. But now we all know that people turned against people and all that. And now
I'm going to tell you something about Tiffany Marie.
Go ahead.
I don't care. I don't care. Ernie, everybody knows that PG's not here for anything other than this little girl and for her to be found.
Exactly.
That's all I want. That's all I want. I don't give a damn about anything else. Haven't ever given a fuck about anything else. Ain't going to ever care about anything else. I just want this little girl found. I want all these missing kids found. I want justice to come to these people that are evil enough to hurt children. It's sick. It's demented. It's fucking evil as hell. And these people belong in prison. Actually, they belong under the prison, if you ask me. But prison would be good enough because I know they couldn't hurt no one else if they were in there. But the point being is Tiffany Marie, when Summer had her reward fund, and that reward fund is very important because it initiates people to do stuff in order to gain it. I mean, it is a big initiative. Like you said, you'd like to get it and donate it to help other children, which is a beautiful cause. And it would have been a lot more to donate if Tiffany Marie wouldn't have fucked it up. And Tiffany Marie had all to do with Summer losing her reward fund because she said she put money in when she didn't. She lied, said she put money in. It had a bunch of people accusing the people holding the money of stealing the money she said she put in there because she got a bunch of donations for it and said she put it in when she didn't. And these people got a bunch of heat on their back as if they stole some money that actually wasn't even ever donated. And that's why they wanted to shut it down. And that's why they did shut it down. Was because of her and her fucking actions, her fucking lies and her bullshit. And you know something? I know that, what happened to her son. And I know, a lot of people feel sorry for Tiffany Marie and whatever and so forth. But I feel sorry for Summer, damn it. I feel sorry for her.
So I didn't know. See, I went around.
Here's how I feel, Ernie. A snake can shed its skin, but it's still a fucking snake.
Okay, I understand that. I understand what you're saying, but I never was around when all the stuff with what was brought up about that. I wasn't around then. I didn't know. I didn't know anything about anything.
She was a huge Jody Sue ass kisser. I mean, she told people, that you're going to be blocked and you're going to be timed out and you're going to be everything else. If you say one little thing against Jody Sue, or if you act any way, you know, Jody Sue might offend little Jody Sue and this and that and one thing. Fuck Jody Sue Brown. Fuck her. Because she knows exactly what the fuck happened to Summer, because she was a lying ass, twisted tongue bitch that said she heard a scream when she didn't. She was asking Candus for money, you know, obviously for her dirty part in whatever happened. And fuck her. And Tiffany Marie was sitting there condoning this bitch the whole motherfucking time and treating everybody like shit while she was doing it. You know, I don't go along with this stuff. I really don't care what Tiffany Marie has been through, because I know what Summer has. And she didn't help Summer at all. It ain't about these missing kids for her. It's about what the fuck she can gain from the missing kids.
Okay. I mean, you know, everybody has their opinions, and I don't know. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't know nothing about that. The time period and everything. I was not in it. I don't know anything about what happened. So I don't have a dog in it. I don't.
The only one fighting is little Summer trying to be found and get justice served on her behalf. That's the only one fighting here.
So let me say this. I understand that there are a couple of YouTubers that I know that are for Summer. I'm going to say that 100%. And I'm going to say this too about you. You have kept the Summer, and I've always said that. While everybody else ran to these other cases, you stayed true. I get hell for that. But the fact of the matter is, you have stayed true to it. And that's what I can say about it. Because I know how I was treated in the Summerwell case. But, you know, way before. I was run off by the police. I was literally pulled over and ran out of it by the police. So I know that I was on to something, because I used my training. I used my experience and the things that I knew about. I never knew that I would be back in the, I tell you, I never knew that I would step back, you know, step back into the Summer Wells case. I didn't know that until I listened. I started listening. I was like, wait a minute. Things are starting to add up. And I listened to one of you about horse.
JLR has always did righteous by Summer. Chris has always done right by Summer. I truly believe that Justice for All, has, you know, done righteous by Summer. He's done righteous by all of these missing kids. You know, you're right. There is, you know, a lot of YouTubers that, you know, do righteous by, you know, these kids in the sight of God. But there's a whole hell of a lot of them that don't, right? A whole hell of a lot of them that don't. And I'm sorry, but Tiffany Marie was one of them. You know, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I lost Cerny. He'll probably be back. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know, I can't do that. Ernie was picked to, he's back. Ernie was picked to do this for Summer, and I thank God for that. And I think that Tiffany Marie is just out. I seen her. I took note that she's, you know, trying to get the spotlight and everything. And, you know, she's just trying to build herself back off of, you know, Ernie's channel. And, you know, I'm not going to sit lightly and take that lightly. You know, she is no more interested in Summer's case now than she was then. She's just trying to, you know, make a fucking new name for herself off of Ernie's back. And that's what she's doing. And I know it. You know, I speak the truth. People don't like it. I'm sorry that, you know, I'm this way. But I'm not going to defy my God for anybody. I'm not going to sit and hold my tongue and defy my God, you know, when I know the truth. And I'm not afraid to speak it. I'm going to speak it. I'm going to speak it because that's the only thing that's going to bring Summer home, get justice, and get everybody closure and that little girl laid to rest righteously, you know. And it's the only thing that's going to help any missing child out here. And I know that, and that's why I do what I do. And if people have a problem with that, well, they got a problem with God, you know, not PG. Take it up with God. Don't take it up with me. Because I'm just doing what, you know, I feel is righteous in the sight of God. Yeah, I might not do it, you know, in the good old-fashioned way that most people, you know, would like me to or think I should. You know, I do it the way I do it. And I'm not going to apologize for that because I ain't got nothing to apologize for.
So, you know, about ongoing, about what we're doing with this project, and I can't speak on what I don't know, and I never will do that because then that makes me look like I don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't.
But be careful.
I will. You know, here's the thing, PG. I've been in this long enough, in different cases and different things that I know how people do on YouTube. I know 1 minute they're your friends, the next minute they're not. I understand. I understand the game. I know how the game works.
Some are like that, Ernie. I'm not. If I got somebody's back, I got their back, you know, hell or high water. If I say I'm behind you, I want to tell you what, you can trust it all the way.
And I do appreciate that. And
they're not like that.
And right now, that's what I need. I need people that are going to be behind me on this. Actually, I don't want them behind me. I want you with me. I want you standing beside of me. I don't want nobody behind me. Because this ain't about me. I want you all to be right in line with me. I don't want you behind me. Be in line with me. Understand that this year has put so much stress. Like, if you knew what I was going through with this, I am so busy with this now.
It's going to be your boots. It's going to be your boots standing at Morrison Cemetery, not ours. It's going to be your boots up there. It's going to be, you know, and maybe a lot of us will be there. Who knows? But the point being is, the main boots there on that ground is going to be yours. You know.
Oh yeah, I understand that, and I take that up. I take the reins on that. I mean, I have to.
And
I have to be that way.
And we're just, you know, even if we're standing beside you, all we can do is support you, because you're the one who knows what you're doing. You're the one that, you know, is running this operation, and the most we can do is, you know, we can stand, you know, behind you and with you, but you're the main vein, man. You're the one that's, you know, going to get what needs to be done.
And yes, and 100% that's going to happen.
Right.
But then, you know, these tactics have to come in. You have to play. So here's the thing, you know, people don't understand the magnitude of this. And this is what's scary. People don't understand the magnitude and what this entails. You have to understand there's people out there. If this is what we think that happened, these people are going to prison for life, and they may even get the death penalty because it's premeditated. Listen, if this all comes out, these people are going to die in prison. They're going to die, and the thing about it is, prison don't take too lightly to people who do this stuff. They don't.
These people were shaking in their boots. These people were not interested in, you know, they weren't interested in why these people showed up on their property. They wasn't interested in really what these people do. They wasn't interested in anything other than blowing their top about you. They wasn't interested in, I mean, they went batshit fucking crazy on these two innocent people that came up on their property to talk about this little girl right here on the screen.
So I'm going to tell you what's going on right now, PG.
People about you.
And I'm going to tell you
something. That tells me right there is where that little girl is. Right there, Timothy Morson's grave. Because they wouldn't be so up in the air if they didn't have something to hide. What I'm saying is, if she wasn't over there, they'd be laughing. Don Wells would have been laughing. Candus would have been laughing. They would have thought it was funny that you're over here, in a cemetery where there's nothing, where there's a big nothing booger. They would have been laughing. They wouldn't have been shaken. They wouldn't have been shook. And that right there, just like Don Wells driving his vehicle, Candus's vehicle, firing his co-worker, driving it the next day like he'd been driving it. He acted like he'd been driving it for a year when he only drove it 2 days. Fired his co-worker to blame it on. Drove it the next day for his own fucking protection, along with his telephone, an extra alibi. I got 7 alibis. Candus got none. She ain't got none because she's carrying this shit out. She ain't got no alibis because she's the one carrying it all, the damn plan that he helped make out on the 15th. Right? And I'm going to tell you what. That little girl wasn't right there. Their asses wouldn't all be up in the air the way it is. They wouldn't have been stalking people up inside the cemetery. They wouldn't have been making phone calls about it. I'm going to tell you something. They thought they had committed the perfect crime and found out they didn't.
Well, see, here's something right now that no matter what happens, you see, this little bit of information has leaked out. Yes, it has. So what that does, but see, here's the thing. They're scared right now and they're afraid because if there are something, if there are remains other than Mr. Morrison in that cemetery or in that grave plot there, then they can't do nothing about it now because they know they're under scope and they're under the eyes. So what they have to do is they have to discredit everything about it. They have to pull their people, which is even YouTube creators, they have to pull their people together to get the people to do what? Put the pressure on me, to put the people on, and that's what it's done. Here's the thing. I've been on this, and I've been on this 4 or 5 days, and all I've done is done a few interviews, and it's already scared the hell out of them. Are you kidding me? They haven't seen anything yet. But here's the thing I know about. Right now, I do need your help because they are looking to press restraining orders. They're looking to get restraining orders on me. They're wanting me without 500 feet away from them. I know that because they tried to do this last time. When I was in it last time, it was brought up. Don brought it up himself. And Candus, they want restraining orders on me, people. They know that it's coming, okay? This is how this unfolds. This is what this case needed, though. I will gladly go to jail. I will gladly do what has to be done for Summer. I promise you that. I will. But I have to have your support.
Hey, like I said, we're right here, man. We're right here. Benny Keys, ran his mouth. All PD disappeared on Ernie. Like I told Benny Keys, Ernie, you don't need me. Matter of fact, Benny Keys, Benny Keys don't have the strength, the courage. He don't have anything it takes to do what you're doing. You got it all. He's jealous of it. And like I told him, you don't need me. Man, baby, you're a one-man band. You do what you want to do, and you'll get it done if you want it done. And you don't need anybody else if you set your mind to it, because you got God with you. And that's all you need right there is God himself. And I think you already have him because he chose you to do this. And you're doing it. And, Benny Keys needs to shut the fuck up because you know what? His nasty ass living with this mama at 50 years old, or is he 60? I don't know how the freaking old he is.
So here's something too. Here's something nobody looked at. everybody, all the YouTubers say, "Oh, it's this prayer gardens deal," right? They talk about that. It's
No,
prayer
this is
garden.
Orange deal. This is something Ernie undecided to do. Me and Ernie talked about it. Ernie said, "Whoa, wait a minute! I didn't know all these things. And tell me more." And I told him more. He said, "You know what? I'm going to get it done because, I explained to Ernie, I'm a woman, and they bully women. It's not safe for me to go up here and do. I mean, they were stocking us up at this cemetery. It's not safe for PG to go up here." Being, I'm a little girl, I'm not a big woman. I'm a little one. And like I told Ernie, I said, I don't know if, it would be, if I'd want to go do something like this. And he said, listen, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
That's
You're right.
exactly what I said. I mean, after I heard what was going on, and listen, here's the thing. Here's something else nobody looks at. All these YouTubers say PG, 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 but the main people say Ernie Shell. The private investigators didn't say, "Oh, because this shit stirred up by PG or this mess by PG." They said Ernie Shell and Hawkins. So I know when I talk to the detective
You are the
that
one they fear. They fear a man. They fear a man. You're the one they fear.
Don's always feared me. Always. Do you remember when, and here's something else too, people, even before I got in the case, it shook them so bad that we was doing the predator hunt stuff. And I'm going to tell you how I know this, because Candus had started acting stupid. Remember when she said Predator Hunter Nation took Don, Ernie Shell, stormed the Capitol? Y'all remember that? Because they knew I do these things. I go to these places and I do it. The Kyle Rittenhouse.
I remember when you and that guy you were hanging with, you and that guy and that girl, you guys, I remember when you guys were up there in Tennessee, poking around at some hotels and stuff, and somehow you got right down the road. Don had gotten word that you was right down the road from his house. I don't know who told him or how he found it out, but I was on the phone with him, and he said, "Hold on," and then he came back, and I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Ernie Shell and his buddies are down the road." And I said, "What? Who's?" Because I didn't even know who you were. And I said, "Who is that?" And he told me that that you were a YouTuber and a some type of investigator or something. And he said that you was down the road, and he was scared. He was mother freaking scared. I'm telling you, the dude was shaking in his shoes. And I was like, why don't you just go down there and see, go down there and confront them, see what they want. Tell them, your daughter's missing, and, and engage with them, and maybe, they'll help you find her. I mean, if you hide up on the hill, what are you afraid of these people for? And he's like, they're crazy and this and that. And one thing you don't understand, sissy, they're dangerous. And I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh. He talked like, they act like they were afraid of Fred Hill, but even worse, afraid of you. And I was like, I don't understand this. That's when, I went and, investigated myself and see who you was and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had a missing child, like, you would be the first one I'm calling, because you have a way of getting a lot of people together, a whole lot of people to help. And I mean, you would be exactly what the hell I would want.
So let me say this, and here's something that brought my attention to it. I was talking to a friend of mine as a bounty hunter, and we was at Cloud Apartments one time, and he didn't, I didn't know what Fred looked like. I didn't know anything about Fred and everything. And my buddy, he said, "You do know that was Fred Hill at those apartments, the one you moved out of the way in an abrupt manner when you was going to the apartments." I said, "The what?" He said, "No." He said, "Dude, I think that was Fred Hill that you knocked out of the way." I was like, And this is like years before. This is back in, like, 2011, 2009, 2010 or 11 or 12 or something like that. And and I'd also been to the Mall City apartments, and we made arrests and stuff from there with Future Recovery. But
Right.
Fred, I remember that, and I was like, "Are you sure that's Fred?" He said, "Dude, I'm 1,000% sure." When we stormed up there, and when we went through, we was looking for. I want to say it was Mr. Davis. A guy's last name was Davis or something like that. I can't remember. I had to pull it. Fred or somebody was in the way, and when we come up in an abrupt way because they called us jump out boys. And we ran through, and I think we ran through a corner or something, and Fred was there. I don't know if it was him or not, but he says it was him, and I moved him out of the way. And I think I asked Fred about it once before, and he may have. I can't remember if he confirmed it or not. I really don't know. He's probably watching right now, and he'll probably message me and tell me whether or not he confirmed it. But I do remember that. I vaguely remember that. And he was like, "No, that was Fred you knocked out of the way." I was like, "No, I don't think it was, but I don't know." I mean, and it just kind of like put things together. You know how it's like deja vu and kind of things. But yeah, and also he said that Don was a frequent visitor to these apartments and stuff. So it goes on even further than that. But I never knew that I'd be working or I'd be in a Summer Wells case and this missing child. I never had a clue in my own hometown that used to be my own hometown that I would be even near a part of this. Ever would have even thought that in a million years. So yes, God has a way of showing you things, and He brings it back to you. He pulls it from the past. And it's like He's like, man, here's these people. Here's what they hung with. Here's the characters, and it's a proven fact. You are who you hang with, and that's a fact. I don't care if you hang with millionaires. Guess what? You hang with 5 millionaires, you'll become the 6th millionaire. Guarantee you. You hang with druggies, you hang with people with human trafficking. You're going to be a human trafficker. You're going to be in that. That's the way it works, people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Don and Candus have a long history of that traffic shit. And this is my opinion because over in Arkansas, I actually had a young lady up here, Lisa J, who was affiliated with the Wells in Arkansas.
I spoke with Lisa J. I found out a lot about Lisa J.
Her child was taken out of there. They had law enforcement came in and stormed them people and Don Wells's house, him and Pam Wells' house, and they removed a whole lot of children out of there for SA charges. And they arrested a couple of SAers that day. That's when Don and Candus took off and didn't come back around that house at all. And Lisa J said, sometimes she believes that Don Wells might have been the one because him and Candus was planning on taking off anyway. He might have been the one that, called in and busted, had the operation busted so that Pam, would get in trouble and the money supply would be gone. With the operation they was running. And then they went and ran around in some different places, and they were living homeless in Arkansas. Matter of fact, when they tried to say they were in Tennessee when Rose went missing, but they weren't. There's proof that they were still in Arkansas or in Utah at the time. They could have been anywhere, but they weren't in Tennessee. And there was also a lady that took them in when Candus was pregnant. Did you know they attacked a woman, caught her at her refrigerator, trapped her, and she feared for her life and pushed Candus and a friend of the woman had came in and seen what was going on, ran out and called law enforcement, and they showed up. And Don and Candus, God knows what they'd have done to this woman had law enforcement not showed up. And they was trying to take over her home. And the landlord had to tell them that, that they were going to send law enforcement in to remove them if they didn't leave within, ASAP a few hours. So they did. They took off. But this is the type of people they are. I mean, you bring them into your home, and I'll tell you what, you might end up like Summer, and they're still living there. You know what I'm saying? These are some evil fucking people.
So let me, and I don't mean to cut you off or anything like that, but you mentioned Pam Wells.
Yeah, that's Don Wells' first wife.
Well, actually, one of my investigators told me that Pam Wells had literally Brian. I was talking to Brian on the phone here a couple weeks ago, and
Right.
supposedly Pam Wells passed away about a month ago.
Oh, really?
And they said the way I heard about it is it's up under investigation. I don't know what's going on with it, but I have heard that Pam Wells has passed away. When we first came, like when I first started talking to you, and I said I was going to do this, and this has been a couple of weeks ago by now, and I
Right.
told you I wouldn't be able to get to it because I was doing something at
Right.
this moment. I was doing something with my family actually, and I couldn't get to it right off the bat. But
Right.
so supposedly there, and I've got this looking into right now, and I can't find nothing on it. So supposedly about a month and a half, a month ago or something, she was attacked. I've heard she was attacked, and I heard that she was taken to a hospital, and then in that hospital, she passed away. So I've got the name of the hospital. We're waiting for the records to come in right now to find out more about it. That way, we can lead on into what actually contributed to it contributed to her death.
Living in a trailer out back of her son's house.
So I heard that
I heard
he had lost. I heard
she didn't bath.
Well, I heard she lost everything, and she was at the homeless shelter that that was near that area there. And I've got all the information. I've got the file actually, but I'm trying to put everybody together right now in this, and I'm not even saying too much about it right now. But this is allegedly
that, because I'm going to check into that, because she might have. I don't know. It wouldn't be too hard to find out.
So what I do know is that her updating trackers has not updated. It updates every 30 days. So
right.
I don't know if this is true or not, but there was supposedly a Pamela Wells or Pam Wells that's been deceased. Now, I didn't have no birthday or no age or nothing to go by. It was one of my guys that I trust, that looks up and does a skip trace and stuff for me.
Right.
Brian called me. Brian had called me and said supposedly that he's heard this, and he said he's looking into it. Now, this is something that's recently happened. This has only been like a couple of weeks, maybe a month ago or something at the most. Maybe a month and a week or something like that. But I heard this about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And he had told me that he had heard something about it, because I've got a lot of people on this now. And I told him, I said, all their eyes, everything we're doing, even the Tiger Roar chat, the usual suspect chat that we have, are on. Everything's been taken off of everything that we was currently doing, and we're focusing it all on Summer Wells right now in this case. So, again, this is allegedly, but I've heard it. I think so. I thought that Pam was like in the 60s, because I think I looked the woman up, and there's one of them, it was like 65 years old or something, but I didn't have the birthday. I didn't have none of that. And then I started reaching out to people to get me the information.
She's 10 years older than Don Wells, and I think he's like, she would have probably had to been up in her 70s.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't have the birthday. I didn't have the birthday to look it up, but I do have the right people on it right now, and they're trying to obtain hospital records for this, and they'll be able to do it, but it'd take a little bit to do it because they're not public records. But the date of death, and if they are a date of death, the birth certificate, not the birth certificate, but the death certificate would be a public record that actually could be obtained.
Right.
And you could do that through a cemetery, anything like that. Or you could at least get like a digital finding of it, and to give a double verification if that even is her. So I
Yeah.
do believe that would be something now that I put out there that everybody's going to be like, oh man.
She went back over into, did that come out of Utah? Because that's where she's at.
Well, this came out of Arkansas. I think it's Arkansas. Hold on one second. I'll look right now and see. Let me see what I got on this. Give me a second here. I'm gonna try to do what I can with it.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, because she would have been in Arkansas, not, or I mean in Utah, not Arkansas, because her son's up in Utah. She's living out back of his home in a trailer. I think it's pretty sad that, um, I mean, well, I don't know. You want to think it's sad that somebody don't let their mom in the house, but being that type of mother, really not protecting them against Don Wells all those years, or protecting them probably against a lot of other evil people. I guess it would be hard to love a mom that, that didn't really protect you, right? It'd be pretty hard to love them, care about them. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's true. That I'm going to tell you something about Don and Candus Wells. They try, like they're like come and hang out in our web, right? The spider says to the fly. Them mother freakers, like over in Arkansas. Remember that girl and her 3 kids coming up missing from that hotel, and Candace and Dawn was all over it. I mean, they were all over this girl. They even had Pam and Lisa J was hanging with Candace and Dawn at the time, and Lisa J supposedly called Pam asking her to call law enforcement and say that they think the kids are in that hotel, and Pam said, no, I'm not going to call law enforcement. And then they got a hold of another girl they were hanging with at the time, and she actually did it. She called law enforcement and sent them there, and Candace was all waiting outside. Actually, she asked Jinkies to open alive, and Jinkies did. And Candace sitting outside, she knew law enforcement's coming. She already knew that, Lisa J was getting somebody to send them there and a few days later, this girl and her kids came up missing, so Candace and Don, in case law enforcement did come around snooping, they had that call where law enforcement was there and that girl wasn't anywhere in their room or around them, with children. These motherfuckers knew what they're doing. These are some evil human beings, I hope Ernie's coming back. Yeah, he's back. He must have checked into it.
So we're still looking into it right now. I'm trying to find out who's got these files. I don't want to put it out here until I've got a definite, but I had heard about it. And if anybody knows these people in the chat, I mean, obviously, you are the Summer Wells Army. I would like to know, I mean, because I think it's awful suspicious, because supposedly Don and Candace was going to visit Pamela, that I heard. And if she is, you see what I'm saying? This stuff follows these people. They follow these people.
Mm-hmm. I also heard that as well, that they was going to, Candace was hanging around this one lady named Dee Dee, and Dee Dee came up dead, and Candus, Dee Dee had told some people, that she was tired of Candus, and and Candus was acting weird and doing stuff. And when Candus was there, this woman had to go to the hospital. She was perfectly well. She was perfectly fine. And she's the one that went up there, her and her husband, and put that bench down at the foot of 110 Ben Hill Road for summer. Anyway, long story short, Candus started hanging around with this woman, and she ends up in the hospital. And Candus calls her while she's in the hospital and said, "You need to send your husband to get me." And
Okay, so PG said she just sent the information to you. PG's little girl did.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
And anyway, Candus told this lady that she needed to send her husband. The woman checked herself out of the hospital. She's like, "I ain't sending my husband." She checked herself out to go get Candus. And then she got sicker, and she took Candus home, told her she's going to have to stay for a while because she, wasn't feeling well.
Is
And
that the real Don Wells? Is that the real Don Wells in your chat? Sorry about interrupting you.
Probably so.
What up, Don? What's going on, bud? Check and see if that's the real Don Wells, guys.
I'm not let you know anything. I think it is. Yeah, it is.
What a coincidence. How you doing, Don? You want to come up here and talk to me a little bit before I have to come to you in person and talk to you? Oh, Lord.
Yeah, he's hate up. He's definitely hate up.
Don, come on up here and talk to me before I see you in person and talk to you.
Right? Yeah, come on up, Don. Have a talk with him.
I'll be nice and professional. I promise you.
Yeah, I've
just got a few. I've actually got 3 quick. Yeah, it'd just be you and I, if that's okay. Is that okay, PG?
Absolutely.
It'd just be you and I. It'd just be you and I.
Yeah, 1-on-1. I won't say a word.
You not a man. Oh, but I believe I've got you, Don. I believe I've got you, buddy.
Oh,
I believe wait a minute. I believe I got everything I need on you, bud. And you're pretty much showing your hand right now. You're showing your hand, brother. You see, I know, right? You do know and understand that I know. Now, let's come up here and talk like real men would. You are a big mouth, that is it. Then what are you here for? If I'm not doing something and you're not shaking, why the hell are you even here? You see, you don't make no sense, bud.
You want to talk about somebody that ain't a man? That's you, Don. That's you.
See, Don, the question.
Ernie didn't lose 3 boys and got the little girl completely missing that he fucking ain't looking for. You do.
Let me ask him these questions. He can
go for an extra alibi.
I got it.
Blame it on. That was you, Don. Wells.
I got it. I got it. So let me say this, Don. Let's talk nice here and everything. Don, when you messed up and said what you said about you being in Rogersville right down the road, and you point. You see, a lot of times people that are trained know that when someone points at something, they're giving themselves away by their body language. So you pointed. Nobody caught on to you pointing because you pointed right down the road. And we know right down the road what's down that road there in Rogers, Jonesboro, as you said, right? You got caught up. You really got caught up, buddy. But I'll be over there to see you, okay? We're going to talk. You and I are going to have a face-to-face little conversation, and you can have your boys, and I'll have my boys. How's that? And then we'll see how it goes. And that's no threat. That's actually you and I coming together for a good cause. And that good cause, Don, is your daughter, Summer Wells. How's that, bud?
He ain't got no boys. He don't. Don Wells don't got no boys because all his boys are gone. Andy's gone, and Brad Hills up in Michigan. He ain't got nothing. He ain't got nothing anymore, right? The only thing he got is
But
Candus.
Don, I'm going to say this too. I'm going to go so far as this: when Chris and Trudy get exposed on Unlock Your Reality for what we're going to do, because they're gathering information now. You see, my investigator people are real. My people that work for me and that I've trained all these years are real people, Don. And guess what? I understand that I can't get through to you and Candace, but I will get them, because I believe within 5 years, investigators should have known something. But I believe they got too involved. I believe in the beginning, they wanted it for the reward. They wanted to catch you up. But then when Trudy said your name is Donnie, you see, a real private investigator, even their wife, would have addressed you as Mr. Wells. So that told me the overfamiliarity of the whole subject of you being called Donnie. That led me to believe that there's even more to it. And we know with you, Don, when there's more to it, there's always some sort of relationship or something going on. So I don't believe that you and Trudy and Chris, and they're doing it for free. I believe there's some sort of gain, not whether it's financial or not, but it could be into the drug world. You see, I've also heard about them in that, but we don't know that, see, and that's all allegations until they get exposed. And I think that Don B is getting ready to expose them on that. That's why Benny Keys had to pretty much discredit everything that Don B was doing. Now, you can say whatever you want to say, but I think that's going to be pretty much a wrap, because I know what I'm going to do to you, and I know what's coming, Don, okay? The new sheriff does not like you, Don, at all. And I do believe that justice is coming for Summer Wells. Now, I know you jumped in the chat because you got triggered, and we fished you out. That's what I do, is I fish people out, and you pretty much showed. And you just showed all these people in this chat. There's over 500 people in here right now. Exactly. You're triggered by the Hatfield, the McCoys, because you know you made the mistake, and you know that I'm on your ass, and you know for a fact what you did. You know that you did, and you know that your own private investigators outed your ass literally without them having to say anything but my name and Hawkins, because that told me now that Hawkins County is listening to the people and what the people want. Now, I'm going to bow out with that, but go ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don's a loser. He's a loser. Candus is a loser. Grandis is a loser. Bunch of losers up there. I mean, who the hell plots against a 5-year-old little girl to destroy her and to hide her away, thinking they committed the perfect crime? You know, when there is no such thing as a perfect crime. In my opinion, it was them. That's all I got to say. And right there on the screen, that's the little girl. And look what they did to her. Look how they shaved her bald. Look at how sick she is. And they didn't take her to a hospital or a doctor. They didn't try to even get her help. They didn't try to save her. They just, went out there to that swimming hole, in my opinion, and completely destroyed her to save their asses from going to prison as some self-centered, self-seeking, evil bullshit right there. I mean, who in the hell does this? I hope you motherfuckers get busted. I hope you guys go to prison. I hope you get everything that you deserve after doing what you did to such a beautiful child and 3 little boys that are going to be mentally and physically destroyed the rest of their lives as well.
TG,
I don't know how he can even show his damn face. I don't know how he can show his fucking face after all of that. They got to be a special kind of evil, Ernie, to continue to show their face after they done such wicked shit. You know it, and I know it.
So obviously, Don Wells shows his true colors. He always does. He always pops up. Here's the thing. He would have, if this didn't bother him, people think about this. If this didn't bother him right now, he would have never showed up, okay?
Right.
He would have never showed up. So you know enough triggering these people, and what we do is rattling the cage. I'm great at that. I know what I'm doing. And he knows that. He knows I know because Candus said so to me. Okay. I know. That's why I'm thinking, hey, you know, I'm going to say, and I've said this, and I'm not going to go into it again because it's even scarier. It's scarier and it's hurtful the way you got to say it. But sometimes you got to actually say it in the right way, and it may hurt people's feelings. But I don't believe Summer when she's found, and I'm not going to say if she's found, I'm going to say when she's found, is going to be in just one place. I'm just going to tell you that because I understand and know the method that's been talked about, and Don even admitting certain facts. You see, I know serial killers when they're interviewed. I know people that talk about things. And when you say it, Don, let me say this. Nobody would ever say this about their daughter. I don't give a damn. They would never say, and because of all the YouTube presence and everything, they probably they probably beat the F out of her. They done away with the evidence. Listen to me. They done away with the evidence, and then they killed her. Is your exact words. Now let me tell you this. Anytime someone says
with a hammer.
Yes. Anytime someone says they done away with the evidence, well, guess what, Don? You're a sick bastard. I say you sexually abused her before all that because you done away with the evidence, and then you killed her, or then they killed her. You see what I'm saying? You're automatically telling on yourself. You're painting a picture of what probably really did happen. And I don't care who gets mad at me for that. That's always what I said. Even Candus slipped up. Candus slipped up and said it. When you also said the fish food thing, you talked about how a dam would tear them apart and move them. But I don't believe you put all of. I don't believe that's all in one place. I don't. I believe you scattered it because you understand the identification and what you got to have for identifying a body. You got to have a few things. You got to have a few things. Teeth being one of them. Did you know that? I believe that 100%. I believe that. Now I'm going to say this. I'm going to bow out before I get started because because my blood pressure is really up right now, and I don't want to lose my professional tone and go into hell about it. But anyways, I do appreciate you, and if anybody wants to support me and you believe what's really going on, and you're opening your damn eyes, because a lot of people starting to open their eyes and see exactly who these people for what they are and who they are, most importantly, and we all know they are. So I'm going to drop out. I'm dropping out right now. I do appreciate you.
You got me running scared, Ernie.
I do. I know that.
Scared.
I do appreciate it. I do appreciate you all. If you want to support me, go to my channel and support me. Support me on my mission. Support me on what I'm doing. And together, we will bring Summer Wells home. Much respect. God bless you all. Thank you all for fighting a good fight. And I'm out. And it is Don Wells. Listen here, pal. We the people will protect the children at all costs. Have fun and be safe.
Hey, God bless, Ernie. There you go. You heard that, right, Don Wells? You heard it. He's going to be up there. The cemetery's getting looked into, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. Your perfect crime wasn't perfect. The perfect crime was not perfect, right? There's no crime that's perfect because people always going to talk. This kind of evilness cannot stay bottled. It cannot stay bottled. No human on the face of this earth can keep this type of evilness, even if they did it all by themselves, which in this case they didn't. In this case, they had a lot of people involved. But even if you do it all by yourself, you can't keep it bottled. Nobody can do that type of evilness and live with it without venting it at some point, at some time. It don't have, and if they vent it in the right direction, the case will be solved. And these people vented it in the right direction. They vented it in the right direction where there was people smart enough to pick up on it, people that grabbed a hold of it, people that prayed for it. Right? The slip of their lips are your answered prayers. I want everybody in here who is Summer's Army to understand that the slip of these people's lips was your prayers for this little girl and the answers to come on her behalf to find her, bring her home, and get justice for her. Because that's how God works. When you pray, well, He lets those people start messing up. And He lets the answers start showing up. And He lets us figure out that 2 and 2 is 4. And with enough 4s, well, we got 100%. And that's what it's all came to, 100%. I truly believe that this little girl is right there where they've tried to hide it. And like I said, Andy Bernard, I think he really wanted this little girl found. I really think that Andy is a little bit afraid of where his soul might end up at if this child is not found, if she is not laid to rest properly, if her brothers do not get closure and a better life. I don't think I don't think he thinks he's going to make it through the pearly gates if he keeps such a dirty secret, because God won't let him in. At the pearly gates, you're going to hear, you could have helped this child. You could have helped her brothers. Look at the life they lived because you didn't want to tell something. Right? Look at the life they lived. This is because of you. What's up, Ernie?
She passed away July the 6th.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She passed away July the 6th.
So you were right.
Yes, I was right.
And they said it's possibility that it was some underhanded.
We're checking on that right now, but it is confirmed that she passed away. Let me look at that one more time here. Let me look at it here. I'm actually going to send you this.
Possibly foul play. I'll put it in content and bring it up tomorrow night. Wait, is today Thursday? I don't do lives on Friday, Ernie.
Today's Friday. Well, right now it's Friday because it's,
right.
It's 1 o'clock.
Friday night. I don't come in on Friday nights. I take the 7th. The 7th is from sundown on Friday to sundown Saturday, and
so I did
the 7th. So I'll be back.
I just sent you something.
Okay, let me take a look over here.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I see it. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Don't put that out there. I mean,
I won't.
Let's do an investigation on it first. Don't put it out there right just yet. Right. I want to find out if Don and Candus went and visited any time during that area. Don, you came up here for a reason, and that really intrigued me, especially when I mentioned Pam passing away.
Yeah, it's correct, Ernie. That's absolutely correct what you showed.
Yeah, I know it is. So I guess, I mean, whether you like it or not, it's starting to unravel, because that's what happens in these cases. They start to unravel. Brian, I got your message just now. Tell Dave about it. I will be leaving on that town on that. But anyways, I do appreciate you all for having me up here. I'm glad that there are people that still stay true to the case and to the fact that we do have a missing child. And there's a lot of people out here, even more now, I believe, because of the feathers being ruffled and the cages being rattled, that I do believe that we, and I'm not just saying me, but we, the people, will bring Summer Wells home. And that's what I intend to do. I do appreciate you all. Thank you, PG, for having me again.
Hey, anytime, Ernie, anytime. God bless. Much love, man. All right. Listen, you guys. Yes, Pamela Wells has passed away. She did pass away, and correct, it is her. Correct, it is her. That has been confirmed. It's been confirmed. I seen it with my own eyes. And you guys know I will not confirm anything that I do not see with my own eyes. But it has been confirmed. And now I do not know if, there was foul play to it. I do not know if there was foul play. But I am going to check into that more and find out everything I can, and I'll bring it to the table. You guys know I will. Hey, Brat, I appreciate that, girlfriend. Absolutely. Brown Eyes, new member. God bless you. CJ, I appreciate that. Absolutely. Member, 41 months supporting Summer. Voice for voiceless, for the voiceless. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate every last one of you that are here supporting Summer, supporting her channel. Hey, Michelle, I appreciate that. God bless. I appreciate all of you guys for everything that you do for Summer. Absolutely. You guys are amazing. Beautiful sunflower, 51 months. Absolutely. You guys are amazing, amazing. But your prayers are getting answered. If I told you a family that stays together and prays together, we can bring a child home, right? We brought a child home before. And, we can do it again. With God, all things are possible. We got to always remember that. All things are possible with God. So you guys keep those prayers going up. You see that He's answering. You see that, He is answering our prayers. And you guys know how long we've been on this graveyard. We've been on this for a minute now, trying to get it looked into, doing everything we could. And, we didn't let it go. We did not let it go. We stayed on top of it, and we got people checking into it now. Thank God for that, right? Thank God for that. But keep those prayers going up. Keep them going up for Summer Moon, Utah Wells, Michael Vaughn. We're getting ready next month, right? We're getting ready next month to see what's going on in the Michael Vaughn's case. I'm sure that's going to be quite interesting. I hear a lot of stuff. Stacy's trying to get it, thrown out and he's trying to do a lot of things. I'm sure he don't want to face the music, right? He don't want to face the music, even though he was playing a bunch of it. He don't want to face it, but it is what it is. And let's see how that goes. And keep those prayers going up for all these missing kids. Sebastian's still missing, right? And Jehava, we still haven't found her. We haven't found Genesis. We haven't found Nancy Guthrie. So many out there. But I'm going to tell you what, if we keep them in our prayers, I know God will answer. That's a fact. So you guys continue to pray for these people who are missing, and also pray for one another. Don't forget to pray for one another. You know, it's easy to pray for yourself, right? It's real easy to pray for yourself. But I'm going to tell you what, there ain't nothing like having other people pray for you. We always need people praying for us. You know how to get people praying for you? By praying for them. Absolutely. And then everybody's life gets better. So keep those prayers going up, you guys. You guys know that PG is a big fan of prayer because I know prayer brings answers. It brings peace. It brings healing. It brings a whole lot of things that we all need. So keep praying because God's listening. Good night, everybody. God bless. Much love. And thank you so much for being here. In the name of Jesus. Amen.